Today, we're going to be exploring if I, IzPrebuilt pot, am too negative about 7 Days to Die. But in order to really ask that, we have to make like a white boy video SAS talking about nothing and ask truly, what does being too negative about something really mean? It's a very broad criticism that I do see from time to time. So, I wanted to talk about this issue that goes on among the more dedicated 7 Days to Die fan base. Ultimately, what I'm doing is dredging up what amounts to a couple hundred complaints over the course of 5 years and making a video about them, but I do want to analyse the question sincerely. Am I too negative about 7 Days to Die? Well, let's analyse the history, the real history of the IzPrebuilt channel. If you listen to those critics, you may get the idea that I never say anything positive about 7 Days to Die. They'd also say that my criticism is unconstructive, and they'd say, and this one really pinches my nipples, that I want 7 Days to Die to fail, or that I try and convince people to stop playing the game and or not buy the game in the first place. That one is actually very hard to disprove because it involved knowing precisely everything I've said over the course of 5 years and somehow showing you it all here quickly. But we'll get to that in a second, and I'll explain why that's not the case. Let's go back to that first criticism, the idea that I never say anything positive about 7 Days to Die. This critique, I assume, largely comes from people who watch like a stream or a couple of episodes of a gameplay series, and they'll see me shit-talking the game, and they'll be very upset about me not liking the thing they like, in which case, yes, by that exceptionally narrow viewpoint, I'm only negative about this game. But that is because I'm not some wanky dick rider who feels the need to cushion every critical thing I say with a compliment to maintain a visage of balance. The compliments come when they are deserved, and the criticism comes when it's deserved. Do those two things happen at the same time very often? Of course not. And I'd wager I would not get anywhere near as much criticism if I was just endlessly glazing the game and never saying anything negative about it. It's obvious to me that people just don't want me to say negative things, because when you reverse it, they would be fine with it. So, where is my proof about my positivity about 7 Days to Die? Well, you could watch every single one of my videos. There are 700 of them, and you would see proof, but that's of course unreasonable. So let's take some more specific examples with a subgenre, my news videos. Over the last 4-ish years, I've covered 7 Days to Die news updates extensively. You can go back to my Alpha 20 news videos. Please do not, they are fucking awful, but for the purposes of proof here, we can talk about them. You can go and see a young, uncynical P-Built, really excited for the new content, and I go in depth on why I think certain features are good changes, and there's honestly not all that much criticism in them at all. They're pretty much overwhelmingly positive. You can go to the Alpha 21 news videos about a year later in 2021, and you can see me absolutely glaze the spear buff, and even be quite cautiously optimistic and receptive to the water changes and even learn by reading. And funnily enough, you can actually see my first video talking about how bandits have been delayed in November of 2022. It's November 2025, and guess what's still not in the game? You can see me defending the perk changes that I now detest because I gave the fun pimps the benefit of the doubt. What a big stupid jellyfish. You can go watch the triumvirate of series that turned me into the monstrosity you see before you. It was 65 days of daily uploading Alpha 21 gameplay videos. 3 series is Survival Guide, Insane Nightmare, and the Intellect series. And you can watch that and you can see I go through a psychological metamorphosis from someone who really liked 7 Days to Die to someone who was pretty much unrecognizable by the end of that stint. That's when the cracks definitely started to show in this game for me. That's when I started to be very negative about my opinions on it, and I consider it the true ignition of the decline of my sanity and the ascent of my channel. It is a canon event. But hope did remain. Fast forward to 2024 and we start to get news on what we at the time called Alpha 22. But it wasn't. No, the fun pimps announced that this was the big one. The big 1.0. We were given one of the worst live streams ever created in the 1.0 dev stream. I still wake up in cold sweats thinking about this fucking nightmare. It was so unbelievably bad, and I had to stay up until 3 AM to watch it and then work for 3 hours to put out a news video as soon as possible on it, and all I got out of it was about 5 minutes of discernible actual news I could give to my viewers for it. For reference, you don't even get mid-roll ads on a 5-minute video. I may as well have just fucking went to bed. So yeah, let's just say the Fun Pimps, after an extended delay on this update I might add, and one of the most shambolic live streams to ever grace twitch.tv, and a list of features you could probably ram into a YouTube short, and all sounded pretty mediocre, they were not spared my wrath. This was arguably when I was the most pissed off at the Fun Pimps. But once I had some time to sleep that off and got over it, I did make several more videos talking about the 1.0 update in news format, and once again, I was cautiously neutral. I wouldn't say cautiously optimistic this time about the features. It was very much a wait and see attitude, even though I was surrounded by a huge wave of negativity about that update and what people thought about it, but I was like, let's wait and see. And the resulting series that followed this is the absolute definition of depression. I had absolutely nothing positive to say about that beyond my first like 10 hours of gameplay. I played it for like a week, thought it was alright, and then those cracks started to show more and more, culminating in this absolutely goated video title, warning, this video contains negativity. That is so real. So after 3 years of being the #1 fell for it again award winner, I absolutely did briefly become a mindless 7 Days to Die hater. True just hatred, wished they deleted the fucking thing, quite frankly. But that was a brief period, probably like genuinely a month. Nevertheless, I persisted with my following of this game. 2.0 news season comes around, and I'm visibly depressed, but I am still giving credit to the things I think are actually good. There's just not that many of them for 2.0. I was positive about the perk changes, the sledgehammer buff, the new zombies, all things that now that I've had time to play with them, I dislike. They're not very good. You can see the pattern here, but these videos had some much needed snark, which was met very negatively by the Fun Pimps Glaze squad who lives on the forums, of course. Then 2.0 actually came out. It shit the bed so bad it fell to about 40% positive on Steam for a couple of weeks, and now we have 2.5 coming in December with a bunch of big fixes and changes aiming to address those concerns. By the way, this feels like a good time to mention that they've revealed that the glass jars they're adding back to the game are going to disappear after you drink them. That is presented without comment. Anyway, the 2.0 was received so badly, the devs are calling 2.5 the goodwill update. And my playthrough of 2.0 was so boring that it ended on day 17, and I haven't done a full vanilla playthrough since. I've played half a week of my landmine challenge, and I'm dreading finishing the other 3 days of it, not because of the landmine challenge, but because I hate what vanilla 7 Days to Die is right now. And then Blood Moons comes out, shits the bed, and hits a peak player count of 366, and I just gave up. I don't really care about 7 Days to Die. Not really, but like, that's a good thing, and I'll explain why. I've accepted that it's probably going to be a tremendous failure unless the devs randomly decide for the first time in like 8 years to actually lock in. I've accepted that having any expectations above the floor with the Fun Pimps is genuinely just stupid. The leadership on that studio is obviously suffering from some kind of brainworm, and I've just accepted that. And this is good because I have no emotional response to anything in this game anymore. I've simply accepted it, which has ironically allowed my attitude towards the game to become much more mellow, allowing my criticism to become much more objective and constructive. Watch my most recent 2.5 news video, I'm downright positive about the changes. I'm not stupid though, I know they can and probably will find a way to fuck it up. Fun fact, that line was written in the script before they revealed the fuck up with the jars. Called it, but I no longer have any emotional investment on the line. Go ahead, Joel, fuck it up again. Just gives me more content either way, doesn't it? But anyway, I ended that 2.5 news video with some constructive criticism on what I think they really need to focus in on if they want to fix the game in the short term that would help it significantly with the so-called goodwill. Largely a suggestion about progression, which is the worst part of the game for me. You can see my recent Blood Moons video where I gave a lot of feedback on what probably needs to be done in order to make the game ever hit 1,000 concurrent players, and it's not unrealistic requests, it's essentially business model suggestions. Which transitions us into my second point here. Is my criticism unconstructive? Again, I would say No, you can go back and watch any of those 700 videos and see in most of them where I do sit down and give criticism, I suggest alternatives. What some people seem to think is that if you're making criticism in a sarcastic or humorous tone while suggesting how to fix the game, that magically makes your criticism unconstructive because it might hurt their fee-fees, but well, fuck your fee-fees, I don't care, 12 years, fix game. You can see this video on why the Fun Pimps need to change how they think. That was a pretty constructive set of criticism, but I made the grave crime of being funny while I did it. My initial videos on 2.0 and its changes contain a lot of constructive criticism on how things could be tweaked to be more balanced. You can see a fucking 20 video spree where I do nothing but suggest changes and then made them my fucking self, which if that's not constructive, I don't know what is. Starting with how I would change water progression, which was greeted with a lot of feedback, which I listened to. A lot of people were like, this is too harsh, consider these changes, and eventually I made that mod and it was vastly different from the video. See how that works, Fun Pimps. You can see my Blood Moons review video, probably not the first look video though. I ended that video rage quitting because the game was so broken I couldn't leave the game. That's not a very constructive criticism video, but I wouldn't even say it was criticism, it was just my genuine reaction to what was going on in front of me. That video is me fighting in the trenches for my life. But the actual review, highly critical, but with many suggestions and compliments on the few things that Blood Moons does well, like the Zombie Master game mode. Okay, that's probably genuinely the only good thing about that game, but at least I tried, okay? And I generally intend to be more reserved in my criticism in future because I do get it. I do get why some people don't like it. I'm a Halo fan, I'm a Star Wars fan, I'm a Fallout fan. I know what it's like to be bombarded with constant complaints about current product bad. The sprint button killed my mother, the mouse ate my spleen, and Todd Howard killed New Vegas with his bare hands in front of me and turned it into a Funko Pop. I know, those YouTubers are tiring. So I have stopped being so annoying about it, which has led me to a new and fascinating problem we'll get into a second, but we have a third criticism to address, and that's the critique that I want 7 Days to Die to fail, or that I tell people not to buy it or I try to convince them to stop playing it. Go ahead, find one video where I've tried to get people who like the game to stop liking it. You won't find one. I strongly believe that there's nothing more annoying than someone being positive about something and you decide to fight them instead of just letting them enjoy what they enjoy. You won't find me under videos or comments of people saying things they like about the game, trying to own them with facts on how they should feel. I don't care. If you like this game, great. Love that for you. That's why so many of my recent suggestions have been about adding options. Not removing the learn by reading system, but adding more options to progress. Not removing the dew collector and the water changes, but just adding jars back as an option. I want options so that more of us can enjoy the game. You do. Especially since most of the things I'm asking for are shit they took out of the game, and there's just no reason to remove things from games when so many people bought the games and enjoyed those features for so long. I'd say my gravest sin towards telling people not to buy the game is telling them to wait for sales, because I truly don't think this game is worth the full price it is right now. All they did was slap 1.0 on the box and then they doubled the price for some reason, which is a blatant cash grab. So telling them to wait for a sale or come back in like 6 months to see if the game's improved is probably the worst thing I've done in that regard. I do often make a joke though, which is when people tell me they've bought the game, I do sometimes respond with, I'm sorry for your loss. What, am I not allowed to tell a joke here or there, SMH my head? As for wanting the game to fail, no, dumbass. I want this game to have 10 billion players so I can make videos on it and make as much money as possible. But I'm not going to lie for the game. It should only succeed if it deserves it, and in its current state, in my opinion, it doesn't deserve it. It's undone too much of what made this game good. And if that's not enough for you, I've even said on record with no guns pointed at my head that I would like to see Blood Moon succeed. And I'm probably the only fucking person on the planet who does, including the people making the game, because ultimately it's in my best interest for a game that I have like a built-in audience for to be bigger. So of course I would want it to succeed, but I don't glaze it unnecessarily if it just doesn't deserve it. And it doesn't. So be it. Which brings me to my last point, which was what actually sparked me to make this video. Earlier I mentioned that me being less negative about this game has sparked another problem, and again, problem in big quotation marks. It's me getting annoyed at like 3 comments, but like, you need something to watch while you eat your macaroni and beef round meal, just let me yap. Problem is now I'm being accused of being a shill for the Fun Pimps, even some people going as far as accusing me of being paid by the Fun Pimps to say nice things. Go ahead and ask them if they want to give me money. I'm perma-blocked from any of their creator programs until I start glazing them, but that's fine, because they couldn't afford me anyway. I hope this video has already explained why I was less critical of the Fun Pimps as of late. It stems from apathy rather than positivity. I'm sparing you the criticism, and I'm sparing you the negativity because you just don't need it in your life. The Fun Pimps weren't listening anyway, so why should I annoy the shit out of you by trying to get them to listen? They'll see what happens though. I'm sure they've noted the recent survival game competition is getting stiffer than ever. I'm sure they've noted that some of the biggest creators in their program and in the 7 Days to Die scene in general made one series on 2.0 and then bounced entirely. I'm sure they've noticed how the worst thing possible is probably happening to them right now. Their biggest critics and their biggest supporters are bored of even talking about the game and are apathetic about future updates. Think about it. Have you seen any of the big 7 Days to Die creators making content on like the 2.5 update? Other than me? I haven't. That's a bit unusual, don't you think? I'm not dragging any names into drama here, but I can see my friends on Steam and I can see who's been playing 7 Days to Die in the past 2 weeks, and I have a bunch of YouTubers on there, and there's only 2 of us who have even touched the game in the last 2 weeks. That's not a very good sign. So yeah, I hope this video was entertaining while you ate your round meal macaroni and beef. If you're also tired of 7 Days to Die, why not check out this video going over the top upcoming 2026 survival games and see what you can replace it with next year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.